everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today's podcast is going to be with a wedding planner, which is the first time for me to have a wedding planner on here. This podcast is all about wedding related businesses and how they relate to the wedding industry and things like that. So today I have with me Claire Courter.
Yes.
Got it. And she is from Completely Wedding Events. And I'll put all of her information down below for you to be able to go and check her out, follow her on Instagram and stuff like that, see all the stuff that she's doing inside of there. But I guess my first question is how in the world did you get into like the wedding industry or did you start in the wedding industry or the planning kind of took off in that direction?
I guess you could say it was an accident. So,
An accident?
I mean, nothing's accidental, but I worked in hospitality for forever, hotels and restaurants and bars, got into management. From there, moved into country clubs, which was awesome. Loved that. Was in the country club scene doing some management when COVID hit. And I was in a members only country club at that point, and everybody started hosting things at home instead of at public venues like weddings and things like that. Because I was so close with these people, I started doing a few things for people at home, helping with their weddings. And before I realized it, that was what I was doing like full time. I left the country club and ended up going out on my own. And
how long ago was that?
Never really looked back. 2020.
2020?
End of 2020. Yeah.
Wow.
So going into 2021.
Going into 21.
Yeah.
So it started off in the events, doing the events first,
Yeah.
and then kind of transitioned into everything else. So
Yeah.
how did that transition go from, because hosting or not hosting, being an event planner for a party is different than being an event planner for a wedding?
It definitely is very different.
It is different.
Yeah. And it was like all tented weddings at the time. So what really got me was I like a logistical challenge. Like I like to be in chaos. And the first few weddings I did were like, oh my gosh, how are we going to figure out how to like make this really impossible thing happen. And so it was a quick transition. I had done just a few weddings before I realized like this is it. Weddings is it.
Yeah.
And I still do other events throughout the year and it's great. But I think that when I found weddings was when I was like, I can really do this thing and love it.
What part about it gravitated you the most? Was because I feel like weddings can be like a structured chaos.
Yeah.
And an organized chaos at the same time, because there's always something. There's a lot of moving parts.
Yeah.
And even when something's happening here, there's something going over here that needs to be prepped and ready. So how do you approach that like on a wedding day? I know you got a team.
I have built out a team.
Yeah.
At first it was just myself, and thank everything for my partner who does not work for me, has never worked for me, but unofficially worked for me for like 2 years for free. And it was him and me, and we figured it out. And then I realized like in order to continue to deliver the quality of service that I wanted to give to my clients, a team was essential. And so I've spent a few years building that team out. And every year we've added a new person to the team and gotten a little bit bigger and a little better. And we've gone from being able to properly manage one wedding day at a time to now we're expanding into being able to book more than one wedding on the same day because we have somebody who has another team built out around them, and they'll be making their big debut on their own this fall. So actually got to meet her yesterday, Carla. So,
that's her?
Yeah.
Oh, excellent.
But she's been working really closely with me to learn how to do basically what I do, but on her own with her own support. And so that's been essential, is having the right people.
Yeah.
And I know a guy, he runs a coaching, like a career coaching business, and his whole thing is like hiring for attitude and aptitude. And that just like stuck with me when I was selecting people to be with me. And they're like my family. I had 2 of my girls graduate college this past weekend, and I watched their broadcast online and bawled my eyes out like they were my own children. Yeah. I love them.
There's something about, when you were looking for people, were you looking for people that had experience, or was it attitude and aptitude and then you worked with the rest?
So what's funny is everybody that's with me found me. I never went looking for anyone.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's like universal pull or what,
well,
but like
I feel
every
like-
time I needed somebody and like it started to reach that level, they just walked right into my life.
And a lot of that has to do with reputation.
Yeah.
I feel like when you want to work with or in an industry of doing something, you will watch the people in the industry.
Yeah.
If somebody wants to be a firefighter, they're going to watch how firefighters work, and they're going to learn how that, and then they adapt around that. When it comes to weddings, same thing. If you want to be a DJ, you want to surround yourself with that.
Yep.
So you want to watch those people, gravitate to those people. How can I be connected? How can I network? So going backwards just a little bit, you and I met through Lens and Light.
Yes.
Which was the first event that I was able to do this year. But you and I met through, and then not only in Lens and Light, on the same week that we were doing that, we found out we were connected with Melissa Lewis and the WIN platform.
Absolutely.
So you're on the WIN platform. I'm on the WIN platform. And today's sponsor is going to be the WIN platform.
Shout out to Melissa.
Shout out to Melissa. And we're going to talk about that later on. So Lens and Light is something that happens. How did you get involved with Lens and Light per se? Because Lens and Light is basically, it's all about, I feel like it's photography related and centered, meaning photo and video, because there was some video people there also. You won't find DJs there and things like that. So how did you get connected with a bunch of people, Lens and Light, Chris and Jen? How did you get connected with them?
So
because you're on their committee too.
I am. Kind of same thing with them. They found me. So they had birthed this beautiful idea of Lens and Light and had started
Huge
to
undertaking.
Oh my gosh, like they're
Huge undertaking.
phenomenal for just the vision alone. And then
First of all, the vision to do it. Second
and then
of all,
the community that they've built out, like that's what gets me. And so a few months before they put on the first Lens and Light, they reached out to me. They found me through social media and they said, hey, we've got this like really cool idea. We don't know how to make that happen in real life. And I was like, all right, let's talk. Yeah. And we sat down, we had coffee. I think we were together for like 3 hours that first day. They told me everything. And I was like, I'm on board. Whatever it is, whatever you guys need from me, like, let's do this thing. Like, I believe in it. And we worked tirelessly the first couple of months, like leading up to that first one. We made everything happen. It was a lot of chaos the first year, a lot of unknowns. It was my first multi-day event like that, like a summit. I had done, weekend-long weddings, but that's like a whole new ball game there. And I had attended lots of events similar to that. So I had seen a lot of it. And I watch, I observe. When I go to events, I'm not there to have fun. I'm there to learn. We did that, and they were like, are you scared off? And I was like, oh, no, I'm in this for the long haul. Like, we're in this together. And so, I work with them individually as the event manager. And then I also joined the committee and work with the whole team. And it's amazing. I went home from the first Lens and Light, got home, was standing in my kitchen next to my sink. So clearly remember this. And my partner, Dejan, came downstairs and he was like, so? And I just started crying. And I was like, this is amazing. This is I want to do more things like this. I'm so used to what I do. And then I did this and the community and the people. And I had a cool moment last week where I think I told you 3 of the male photographers from Lens and Light, who I think met through Lens and Light, they all shot their first wedding of the year together this year. And I was like, how cool. Yeah. That's a baby I birthed, basically. Yeah. That's how I feel about stuff like that. And so I like what I do. I like the people who I work with and the clients that I work for. But I think for me, the biggest thing is community. And at some point we may touch on it. I do a lot of community service and charity oriented work. And that's my passion project. And for me, my biggest thing that is important to me in my life is my legacy that I leave behind. And as many people as I can affect, that's what I want to do. I want to do that more than I want to make a perfect wedding. I want to do that more than help, create this dream wedding for somebody. I want to leave an impact or a legacy in some way.
Yeah.
So.
And I feel like the quote that comes to my mind is actions speak louder than words. You can say you want to leave a legacy, but what you do is what the legacy is, not what you say. I can say 100 things and it just falls to the ground. When you're doing something, that is what the legacy is all about. It's action, putting to words with your action, and that's what legacy is all about. I feel like you thrive in a chaotic atmosphere of. And I want to touch on, we were at a workshop yesterday. Christina was one of the models that was there with a dress on. And there was something wrong with the bow, okay? And there was something wrong with the bow. And we joked a little bit about what women photographers can say to another woman model that a man photographer cannot say to a woman model. And we joked about that, but we couldn't. 5 people tried to fix her bow on the back of the dress to try and get, oh, it's broken, just leave it down. Next person come over, it needs to go over here. No, it's broken, just leave it down. I'm watching, Claire goes walking over there, and I'm waiting for the same response again. And all I see is click, 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 boom, boom, boom. And you put it right in exactly the same spot that it was. And what you said to me, what did you end up saying when you were there?
It was a shameless plug. I said,
it's okay. You were talking to her.
Yeah.
And you said something to her, but it was about having somebody that knows what you're doing on your wedding day.
Yeah.
I want you, let's talk about that for a minute.
I said, this is why you should always have me or someone like me there with you on your wedding day.
It is so true.
Yeah.
Bridesmaids forget how to do a bustle. Even though they've been trained and shown and they've got videos, they still forget to do that. I, here in Massachusetts, don't do a lot of weddings with wedding planners.
Yes.
It is something that people either don't want to spend the money because they know it's a good asset. And I am like, when the rarity of working with a wedding planner, and then I saw you yesterday working with that person, there is something that elevates the day. You are there as almost like a puppet master with your hand on everything.
Yeah.
Controlling everything, but at the same time standing back, letting everything happen. And I feel like there's a balance in there. 5 people tried to fix that dress. You walked up there, click, 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 snap, 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 and it was done. And what you said was, this is why you have an event planner at weddings.
Yeah.
And it is so true. They're not there. They don't have enough experience, and they're relying on other people to help them. Now, the bride's going like this. She can't pin her own.
Right.
She needs somebody else. So I want to talk about why, if somebody's on a fence with doing an event planner, whether it's an event, a private party, or a corporate event, doesn't matter what it is. Claire's here to be able to help. What advice would you give somebody that's on the fence with having an event planner on their day of an event? Let's keep it wedding related. What advice would you give somebody that's on the fence with deciding to do a wedding planner or not?
It's funny, I actually had this conversation with PJ from Milford Photo yesterday because him and his fiance are engaged, and she's like, we don't need someone. And I'm like, listen, PJ, no pressure. You know where to find me, like if you're ready. But make sure you tell her that on the day of your wedding, no matter how much hard work you put into planning it, like if you want to plan every single little detail up until that day, like you should do that. It's your day. It should feel like you. But who wants to work on their wedding day? Who wants to work on their wedding day?
You shouldn't.
You should not. And your mom should not. And your best friend should not. And quite frankly, your photographer is not your planner and should not.
Should not.
Have to be running your timeline or making sure that things are aligned. And a lot of time it falls on you guys if there's not an us. And so I would say that at least bare minimum, have a professional with you on the day of, even if you don't want to hire a planner beforehand, someone who you've met with, who has a comprehensive knowledge of the entire day. That way you can do what you're supposed to do on your wedding day, which is get married and have a darn good time.
I feel like that is probably the best advice. I wouldn't have said it better anywhere else. You are absolutely right with even at least a day of.
Yeah.
Explain to me what a day of coordinator is. Because most people think you show up that day, but there's prep work you have to do ahead of time to know what needs to be done on that day. So explain to me, as if you were talking to one of your brides, what a day of coordinator consists of.
Sure. So, and it may vary a little bit from person to person. There are some of us that are a little more elevated, and there are some that are more like entry level.
Yep.
But we're all going to give you the same comprehensive day of service. But most of us will meet with clients. It depends on how far in advance we get hired.
Good point.
Multiple times before we get to like 30 to 60 days out. And then at that point, we'll have made initial contact with all vendors. We'll be working with you on your timeline to make sure that your timeline makes sense and that if there's things you've forgotten, that we're plugging that in. We get stuff from hair and makeup, photographer, DJ, put it all together. Good photographers have their own timeline. We work that into our timeline. Multiple different venues. If you're getting married at a church and then you're going here, somebody to help you coordinate your transportation.
Good point.
And right, because a lot of the times that's like things that totally get missed. And then
totally. Oh my God, I forgot about. There's a 15-minute drive from the church to the venue.
Yep. And then the other thing is, and I tell all of my couples this when they hire me, is that there will never be a wedding without hiccups. Ever, 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 ever.
Good advice.
My job is to make sure that you do not know about them unless they're funny, and then we laugh about it the day after. Yeah. And that's like legit.
When do you laugh about that?
The day after.
Not the day of.
Not the day of.
You never want to let the bride and groom know if there's anything that went awry or a hiccup of some sort, unless it was something like, oh my God, grandma didn't make it.
Right.
You know, that's a different scenario situation, but it's like, you know, there's a delay someplace else or the food's being delayed.
They should not even know.
Not.
Yeah.
They should not. So you do day of coordination also, but what else do you do as far as for a wedding wise? What other things do you do for that?
Full and partial service planning.
That's what I want to talk about.
Yeah, can involve, everything down to detail and design. So you could come in and have no clue what you want to do, not want to talk to any of your vendors, not want to negotiate on pricing, not want to have to go through contract reviews and like all of that other stuff. And that's where we come in and we pick up all of the pieces that you don't want to do. Depending on the extravagance of the wedding, you know, is it a full weekend thing? Is it one day? Do you have multiple locations? All of those things play into like what level of service you're going to want to get from
us. You can accommodate all of
it.
That's what I want to know. I want to talk about what Claire can accommodate for any bride.
Setup, breakdown, vendor negotiation, contract review, design.
You set up arbors and stuff like that too?
Oh yeah, and we have a bunch of like rental decor items. Yeah, and we give a huge discount to our couples. We have that stuff available for other people that aren't wedding couples of ours. But we have a huge rental inventory of arches, candles, like all the things.
I did not know that.
Oh yeah. It's a lot. My basement is very, very full. But it's really great. And then, so setup, breakdown, all of the things. If you need help, you know, sourcing I've sourced strange entertainment for people. We've done an 18-foot skeleton. Like you can't even imagine the stuff. Goat bridesmaids, that is a thing with like a goat at the wedding, like in the wedding party, like whatever it is that you can think of, we know how to accommodate that need.
Excellent.
It's crazy.
I see, and I feel like there is a misconception of understanding when it comes to a wedding planner.
Yeah.
What people look at and see is an expense.
Yeah.
But what they don't see is the experience.
Well, and the other thing too is with someone like myself or another person who is very well connected in the industry, the money we can save you usually justifies our price. Like there are people that I know that didn't have a planner, and some of the places they could have cut their spending just from having someone with knowledge in the industry would have well paid for their planner.
And this is the part where experience comes in.
Yeah.
I'm a huge person on experience. As a photographer, I always feel like the brides and grooms are not educated enough.
No, you can't be. I mean, it's like any industry, you know?
You're right. So
I don't do my own bookkeeping. You want to know why? I don't know a darn thing about it. There's somebody who like has spent 20 years figuring that out that knows how to do that. Why, you know?
Yeah. What they're doing is, I feel like they are comparing prices between 3 photographers, 4 photographers.
Facebook.
Yeah. Ugh. And they're looking at pricing, and then they're looking at X. I feel like if people, this is why I want experienced people in my podcast, because I want to educate. I want nothing about this podcast to be anything about, you know, anything other than just education. If you're getting married and you're on the fence with DJs and vendors and wedding planners, should you get one? Should you at least get a day of coordinator? Anything like that, when you get to that point, is finding somebody that has the experience level that you feel comfortable with. Now, I can't do $1,000 wedding, and you're not going to do a $500 wedding coordination. There's just certain things that leave that to somebody else.
Yep.
But when you look at the experience level of the people that are at that levels, this is where people say, ooh, I only did 2 weddings last year. Ooh, you've only done 1 coordination. Or you've only done a 16-year-old birthday party for coordination, but you've never done a wedding. Why would I hire somebody as a wedding planning and a wedding coordinator if you've never done any weddings? See what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So let's talk about that for just a second. With what advice would you give a bride that is looking for a wedding planner?
So I'm actually very glad that you asked this. So one of the things that I think is most important is, one, do your research. Do your
100% research.
And that does not mean check them out on Instagram.
Good
it
point.
means dive deep.
Yeah.
These are the people, these are the
Google
professionals
reviews.
you're trusting your whole wedding day with. So Google reviews. I am hesitant to say ask people on Facebook because you will really get a mixed bag of responses, but ask people you know and trust, like other wedding vendors. That is where I would look for advice on Facebook.
Good advice.
Not from clients, but from other wedding vendors.
Good advice. Have you ever worked with so-and-so?
Right. And you get what you pay for. And I hate to say it like that, but you pay for the quality in the wedding industry. There are lots of people that are starting off that I have the conversation with them. Price yourself accordingly from the very beginning, because what you don't want to do is undercut other professionals in your industry. And when, as a shopper, when I am looking for any product, if it is really cheap, I want to know why is it really cheap.
Yep.
Where am I losing out on quality to get me that price? And it is 100% applicable to the wedding industry.
Yeah. So I want to interject something that you had just said, that there's a reason why they're inexpensive. And it has a lot to do with being inexperienced.
Yep.
So the same thing that you said, price yourself accordingly.
To the industry.
To the industry.
Yeah.
Okay. At the same time, is if there's 10 photographers in your area and they're all charging $5,000, and you've only been doing weddings for 2 years,
you're not there.
Do not. Just because everybody else is getting $5,000 doesn't mean you're going to be able to get $5,000 because everybody else is doing that. Or you come in at $48.95.
Yep. And I know a couple of very good planners and coordinators who are priced lower than me because they have not been around as long as I have, but they are really good at what they do. And their work speaks for their image. And I have had, just last week, I had somebody reach out to me and I was above their budget. And I said, that's okay, because there are people that exist in the industry who I can point you in the direction of, that I know you will be in good hands. But that is, you do have to really, that's coming personally from another planner. So you can trust that recommendation. But if you go on Facebook Marketplace or Brides to Be or whatever it is, and you say, I'm looking for a coordinator, and you get 50 responses, and most of them are in the few $1,000 range, and then you have 2 or 3 that are like, I'll do it for $350. Oh my gosh, don't hire that person. If anybody is coming in that much lower, that's a red flag.
And this is the phrase, you get what you pay for.
Absolutely.
And same thing with photography. Somebody's going to come in for $1,100, and all of the rest of the photographers that have been named in there are all $5,000.
They don't have the right equipment. They don't have the right experience. They don't have the right knowledge.
I always tell my brides when they come to me, I say, this is what you should be asking your photographer. You should be asking how long we've been in business. Do we have insurance that covers us where we are? Because a lot of people don't have insurance. You want to be asking how many weddings you do per year for the past 3 years. And if somebody says 30, 21, 27, 50, whatever the numbers are, and then somebody else is 3. right there, not red flag, that just means, okay, that might not be the person I'm going to be having at my wedding at the castle that we're having out in Connecticut.
With 350
with
guests.
350
yeah,
guests.
absolutely.
So do you want to trust the inexperienced photographer? Because here's what's happening. Castle, catering, big expense.
Yeah.
We get that. We understand that. Then they're like, oh, let's find a photographer for $1,000 because we spent so much on that. Well, as a photographer, my job is to come in and take pictures of all of that.
Yeah.
And for you to remember that for the next 5, 10, 15
what you
years.
spent 80 grand on, you want to remember that.
If you're looking at somebody that's inexperienced and you're going to get a crap product back, how good are those memories going to be 5, 10, 15 years from now? And this is where I feel like a wedding planner can do the same thing. I feel like the wedding planner, a lot of times the bride will rely on the photographer or the DJ to get an itinerary going of where, tell me where I need to be that day. And I get that. Happens to me all the time. My wife's like, you're not a planner. I know. But if nobody else is going to do it, I have to.
Because you don't want your work to reflect there being a mess. Yeah.
Because it's going to be, if it looks chaotic,
Yep.
they're going to be like, why is the photographer running around when he's supposed to be over here? Well, they didn't know that nothing was organized.
Right.
So I feel like with a wedding planner, that has a lot to do with a castle, catering, and how many vendors would you have on a normal day? So let's just go. You got a caterer, you got a vendor, you got a caterer, photographer, DJ, and then you've got a bar,
hair and makeup.
Separate. Thank you, hair,
florist,
makeup. Okay, so we're looking at 7.
Yep. And that's like if there's, so that's just straight up. Then if there's a band or any sort of instrumental, if there's video on top of photo, if there's a live painter or a specialty coffee cart guy or a gelato
mocktail
bar.
like we had last night, a little mocktail thing.
There are so many, any given like normal wedding, 10 vendors. Like minimum. Then you have transportation. Then you have the hotel block. Then you have the officiant or the church if it's like a church entity.
I got a question for you.
Oh yeah.
Let's say just 10 would be the average.
Yes.
Okay. I can only control what time the ceremony is, getting ready, and then formal pictures. Everything else relies on the DJ. Okay.
Yeah.
Who else is going to be in charge of organizing all of that stuff if it's not the photographer or the DJ? Who's it ends up being?
I mean,
the wedding couple.
Right.
So now
or a parent who's unprepared or an aunt or something who doesn't have any insight on how to actually make those things happen.
So now the wedding couple is not relaxing on their day because they got to make sure that the caterer and the truck has to come in, the wine people have to come in, the bartenders got all this stuff, so the bride and groom cannot even enjoy their day.
If there's rental deliveries.
The night before, it's not.
Yeah.
This is why.
And if your cousin's marrying you, who the heck is going to run your rehearsal? Who's going to tell who where to stand? You know, who's going to tell them how to line up to get down the aisle?
I've got a question for you. So in part of your packages, day of, or any of the packages you do you contribute to rehearsal nights?
Rehearsal is included in both of our upper level packages.
Awesome.
You can add it on for a very small fee to the coordinating package. And I suggest it to almost everybody.
Yeah.
I don't like to do a wedding I haven't touched the rehearsal on.
I have walked into rehearsals, I've walked into weddings, and the DJ is going to say, all he can say is, okay, we're going to get ready to start. I'll start the ceremony music. Sometimes they have no idea what line they're in, where they're standing, even at rehearsal, because the rehearsal was so chaotic. They didn't know when they were coming in. I've had some people come down and go to the left instead of going to the right. And they were supposed to. There's disorganization. And everybody laughs. I'll be honest with you. They laugh and they giggle when like, oh, that was funny. He went the wrong way. But they're like, oh.
Yeah. But all the guests are sitting there like,
where's the organization? There's a level of organization, I feel like, especially on your wedding day. This is where wedding planners are, I feel like, even day of, coordinators
helping with the seating
so
chart. I have a wedding in June where there are 14 people on either side of the bridal party.
Wow.
So literally just figuring out the logistics of where they are going to stand in the church, how, like all of that was like an entire 2-hour-long meeting that we had. I mean, I'm making diagrams for the church. We have a captain's table. It's at St. Clement's Castle.
That's the castle I was talking about before.
So we have a captain's table. It's 28 people sitting at the captain's table just to figure out how do you get the person and their significant other or whomever sitting in the right place? I mean, that's, yeah.
Wow.
So it's quite, and that's one of the other things too, is knowing even that those are details that have to be worked out. So like you were referencing, like, how are you going to spend $80,000 on your whole wedding day, but then just want to spend $1,000 on a photographer? One of the other things that people like me do is, like, we make sure that you have a properly rationed budget.
Oh, good point.
So like, we're going to take your budget like a pie chart, and we're going to split it up like percentage wise. If this is your overall budget, how much percentage wise should you be spending on each? And if you don't really care about dessert, and like you're cool with like a baby cake and then a sheet cake, cool, then you don't have to, like, if normally we would allot 10% of your budget to dessert and cake, but you're like, that is not a priority to me, cool, then we'll take that and we'll allot that somewhere else. But if you don't have someone to walk you through that, how do you even know? I mean, most people don't know what percent of my budget should I spend on catering? What should I spend on a DJ? What should I spend on transportation? Who should I tip and how much should I tip them?
Yeah.
I give out gratuity recommendation sheets to all of my clients. I have had weddings before I started doing that where nobody got tipped. And then I had to explain that to all of the vendors at the end of the night when the caterer's like, where's my server's tips? And I'm like, nowhere. I don't know. No, I don't have an envelope. And like, that was embarrassing for me. That was very early on. And then I realized, nope, I have to tell people how much money they should be giving to these other people.
I feel like, and I say this very professionally, tipping vendors in the wedding industry has fallen short in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
I feel like there is a lot of people that I'm already paid well. I don't walk in and expect anything.
No, but there are some vendors that are not paid well and that they like kind of survive off of that.
Right.
I mean, it's same for me. Like if I don't get a tip, like if I get a thank you card, I'm happy with that.
Yes.
But
I feel like the tips have dropped off and the gratuities have dropped off over the years of they're not doing the tips as much as they used to anymore. And
I'm an advocate for it.
Yeah, because it's part of your thing. It's like, we suggest, because these are the people that you're working for, and it is a known fact, forgive me for saying it this way, but when people know there's a tip coming, I work hard anyways.
Right.
Tip or no tip, I'm going to work hard. You're going to do the same thing too. But when you go to a restaurant, and that waiter or waitress is working and for you and doing everything, they're expecting and anticipating a tip at the end of that. So they come and give you a good service, and if you're going to drop 9%, and that's a little bit like,
coming from that industry too, I think I have a deeper empathy for it.
Good point.
Because there's the people that work in that industry, the catering world, the restaurant world, the bar world, they are so underpaid and so undervalued. Unless 100%. By some rarity they've found an incredible company or a great boss or something like that. And they don't make enough. Yeah. They don't make enough to survive. They don't make enough for it to be reasonable without the kindness of people saying, wow, I recognize how hard you're working. Yeah. Let me make sure I take care of you. Yeah.
All right. So let's flip it up just a little bit and let's talk about the Win platform. And then we're going to get into the 10 tips after that.
I love that.
So we met at Lens and Light, and then Melissa Lewis is sitting across from me, and there's like 130 people in this room, and she's like, hi, Ron. Well, my name's on my tag, so I figured that's where she saw that from. So we started talking a little bit, and then she introduced herself as the Win platform, which is the Wedding Insiders Network that you and I are both part of, and we were one of the few first people to be part of that as soon as she launched that. So let's talk about that for a second, as far as the Win platform and what it is and what it consists of and how it's working. There's a few changes going on. Melissa's coming in next week to talk about that. So,
I love that.
Tell me what your impression of the Win platform, where you see this going. So what's your impression of the Win platform itself from vendor and client, and where do you see this going?
So first of all, I was so excited when Melissa told me about this, because it's like one of those things where, like, for years, the bane of my existence during wedding season is having to deal with the vendors that I don't know well. And there's no way to avoid that with what I do.
True.
There is other ways to control that when you're in different parts of the industry. Like if you're a venue, you can say, we only allow these vendors here, right? I wish that I could do something like that, but it would be ridiculous and I wouldn't make any money if I did. But for years I had been thinking like, why can't someone literally make a thing where like only vendors are recommending other vendors? Like, why doesn't that exist? How does somebody do this? And then I met Melissa and I was like, you just took all of the things that I wanted and put them into one little nugget of greatness. Like,
I think she took something a lot of us didn't even know we wanted.
That we didn't even know we
didn't even know we wanted it.
Yeah.
We didn't even know we needed that.
Oh my gosh, it's genius. Knowing that you can go on and say like I have a recommended vendor list. And me and Melissa have had this conversation. There are still couples that I send it to because they haven't gotten themselves onto the Win platform yet. And it's beautiful. It's made in Canva. It looks nice. It's got everybody. And I have a fantastic assistant that when it needs updating, she updates it. But that's, I think, going to become archaic. Like, that's how we've all been functioning for the past however many years, 10, 15 years. We have our list, right? You go, you sign up for your wedding venue. They give you a list. Like, that's just what happens. A lot of those lists, not mine, but a lot of them are pay to play. I refuse.
Thank you.
I refuse. To be on pay to play lists.
It's not right.
I have never once paid someone to put me on a list, even if they really freaking like me. And they're like, we really want to put you on this list. I'm not paying you to do it. Right. Because also then I don't know if the person next to me on that list who's a DJ is actually good or if they just paid you enough money, you know?
Really good point.
So,
really good point.
So overall, I'm a huge fan of the notion, the idea, the vision. And then I think that I was one of the people that got really, really screwed over financially by the knot, like lost thousands of dollars and then put 2 and 2 together when I started getting fake leads that were really obvious to me. And that kind of tainted my whole idea of like anything like that. And I have steered clear of every platform since then. This is the only platform I have trusted to be genuine and reliable and something that I can see is it will just continue to grow because there's no way to like cheat the system on it. You know what I mean? And
I know exactly what you mean.
I love the honesty and integrity behind it.
Because we know the individual.
Yeah.
We know her heart is just genuinely gravitating to with this purpose that she has. I looked her right in the face when we did our podcast. I was like, this is a huge undertaking.
Yeah.
You are putting yourself in the deep end of the water with the big sharks that are there, and it's going to be very difficult for you. And I was very honest. And she said, I know that. She said,
you got to hold your ground, girl.
Yeah. And she is.
Yeah.
She is. So what this Win platform is, Wedding Insiders Network, all the information will be down below. This is a vendor-to-vendor. Started off that way. It's a vendor to vendor. You get on the platform, you build your storefront, you find other people that are in the network that you either know, you start with people that you know, and then you get connected with them, invite them to the storefront, and then you add them to your preferred vendors list. So now, when my bride comes in or a bride comes in looking for a photographer, they're going to see the photographer's tab up there. Information is going to be big. All the people are going to be right across over there. You click on any one of them, they will have their preferred vendors that are in there also. So if they're like, oh, I need a photographer, they're going to go, they find Ron, they come down the list. Let's see who else he's connected to. Oh, Claire's connected on there. I was looking for a wedding coordinator also. Oh, there's a DJ there too. Oh my God, there's a so all of this stuff is right inside. So vendor to vendor, I love the fact of, and if there's other people you want to network with, you can network with these other people too. Like, oh, I've seen that guy's work. He's really good. I'd love to be part of what he's doing. You can message with inside of there. You can network with inside of there. You can make appointments and talk to these people with inside of there. Hey, let's grab a coffee sometimes. Here we are about exactly the whole thing. Now that there's brides and grooms inside of there, now there's wedding couples inside of there. The platform was built with the group and the vendors first. Now all these brides or all these wedding couples are coming in. So now you click on these pieces and now they when they sign up, they're looking, they need wedding planner, venue, date. So once they get those 3 things inside of there, they need a DJ, caterer, anything that they need, anything. There's a new tab that got created for live painters. Yeah. So
we're trying to get a travel agent one on there right now because that's what my partner does. I'm like, Melissa, we need a travel agent.
It's perfect.
Tab.
For honeymoon related things. I just did a podcast the other day. Like, oh my God, everybody's talking about the wedding. They're like, you got to plan your honeymoon
Yeah.
too.
And even like little travel, like having family come in from out of town and organizing a hotel block.
I would have never thought of that.
Also, too, what's cool about Win is like, and this is one of my favorite things about it, is like, so say I'm a couple and I'm like, okay, like I really like Ron. Oh, he works with Claire. And then also Ron and Claire both work with DJ Pat Burrell.
Yeah.
So he must be cool because they both like him. And then also what's really cool about that is you can build out a dream team of vendors that you know have all worked together, not just one. So like talking to PJ, he's got DJ Pat Burrell and Esteban Gill shooting his wedding. And I'm like, hello.
Yeah.
How am I not being added to this team? Because we all work together all the time.
Yeah.
And like you would have a seamless day if you could know every one of my vendors has worked together at some point.
Yeah.
And they all get along and they all work well together. You know?
And there's discounts
for
each one of these vendors that you hire through the platform.
You're saving money because you're hiring the right
money.
professional.
And you find people that work well together. They work often together. And each vendor gives a discount.
Yeah, so 200 off from me, 100 off from me.
Something like that.
Like, hello, you can save $1,000. Literally. Easy.
By working within the network.
Yep.
All right, I love it. Okay. All the information is going to be down below.
Go sign up today.
Yes. What I really want to talk to you about is really I want to get to, before I get too far into this, I really want to talk about one of the things I asked you that I really wanted from a wedding planner's point of view. I need 10 tips.
And I have them for people who don't have a planner.
Like,
obviously,
that's okay.
If you have a planner, these are things that will kind of become less relevant because you have a planner handling
That's a good
it for
point.
You.
That's a good
stuff
point.
For people who don't have a me.
Let me preface this.
Yeah.
Get a wedding planner.
Do it. Just do it. But if you don't,
here
are 10
here's
things you
10
can
tips to help you. And this is just from her profession and her professionalism. This is 10 tips she would give a bride that has no wedding planner on their day.
Yes.
Let me preface this again. Get a wedding planner. But if you don't have one, here's what you would suggest.
Yes.
All right. Number one.
Okay. And I'll run through them quick, and we already touched on a few.
Okay, good.
The first one is have a tool or a platform for keeping your wedding planning organized aside from a handwritten notebook. Like have something digital, a Google Drive, an Etsy book that you've purchased for $20.
Good point.
Whatever it is.
Good point.
There are so many things.
Is that for the reason of sharing it with other people?
For sharing it with your vendors, and then also for being able to refer back to things.
Oh,
because
good point.
If you have it digitally, it is much easier to find things when you're looking for it.
Good point.
Aside from like flipping through a notebook.
Good point. Now, you're not opposed to an old school, like a notebook.
No, have a notebook, keep notes, but have somewhere where you're housing all of that information that it's organized.
So it's okay to have both.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. I'm a handwritten girl. Yeah. The other one that we've kind of touched on is do your research on vendors.
Every vendor.
There's a very low barrier to entry in our industry, and Instagram is not, it can be manipulated to make a person look a certain way. Do deep research on anyone before you sign a contract. Then, once you are given a contract to sign, review the contract well. Read the small print. Look at all of it. That is one of the things that I do for clients, but it is because it's so important, because there are lots of times that you may be getting yourself into a situation, you think you're getting one thing and you are getting something different. Review your contracts. Have a date and a second date selected, because there are going to be lots of times where you run into something that you love. And
that's good advice.
Yeah. And
that's good advice.
I would say start with your venue. Have a date, start with a venue, right? Once you have your venue booked and you have your date locked in, that is how you're going to be able to determine any other vendor that you're going to work with. Anything else that you're going to want on that day, you're going to need a date for it. Do not pick the first venue that you go and tour. Don't pick the first anything that you look at. Trust your gut. If someone is...
Almost like sleep on it?
Yeah. If someone is professional enough, they will allow you the time to think about it. Like nobody's going to make you make a decision that day. All of us will have some sort of, I usually tell people like, once I've made you, a proposal, you've got about like, if it's a peak date, you've got like a week or two to make a decision. But I always say, go home, talk to your partner. If your parents are helping you pay for stuff, go talk to them, whatever it is. Do not make a decision on the spot ever. Nobody should ever be pressuring you into that ever, ever, ever. Set up a budget and try to adhere to that budget. And if you need to take money away from certain places to allot it to others, that's fine. but work on figuring out that pie chart of your budget. It's super, super important. And keep those decisions in mind about what's most important to you and your partner. Like, I know people that are like, I don't want photos of me getting ready. I'd rather have photos of my entire party and my sparkler exit. You know what I mean?
Good point. Good point.
If you're
Prioritize.
right.
Yeah.
Do I
if
need,
you've got 8 hours,
right?
And
Where
you
am
can't
I?
have this
Where am I
and
allotting
this.
that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So think about
Good.
what's
That's-
most important.
That's very important. I like that.
Yep.
What number was that?
I think that was like 7.
It was a good one.
It was a good one.
That was a good one.
Make a checklist, refer back to it all the time. So if you don't have a planner, there are lots and lots of available checklists online that will keep you kind of on track for like 12 months out, 10 months out, 8 months out. These are the things that you should have done. This is when you should send out your save the dates, your invitations, all of those things. Every time you if you do wedding Wednesdays where you sit down on Wednesday and that's when you do your wedding planning, have that checklist, refer back to it. It will make you feel good to check things off of it. It will make you feel organized to check things off of the list.
Can I interrupt for 1 second?
Yeah.
What is the proper etiquette for save the dates and invitations?
So everybody will tell you a little something different,
Okay.
right? For me, save the dates should be out by, at the latest, 6 months out from your wedding.
Thank you.
And then when you're thinking about your invitations, the most important thing to remember is, what is your cutoff date for catering for having your final numbers in?
Okay.
You want your RSVP date to be 4 weeks before that so that you have a cushion. And then you want to usually give people 2 months from their RSVP date from when you're sending your invitation out.
So that's 3 months prior to
Usually.
your wedding
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
when you send the invitations out.
Yeah.
And save the
maybe
dates are 6 months.
6 months.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. 3 to 4 months. I like 4 months.
Thank you.
because
I get
it gives
that asked
you-
all the
yeah,
time.
Yeah. It's probably one of the more common questions.
Yeah. And you're right. There's different versions when they Google it.
Yeah.
There's different versions of, some people say 8 to a year for the
Yeah.
save the dates. And some people are 6 months prior to.
And also too, when you're making that decision, if you're everybody coming to your wedding is local and you don't have people coming in that need a visa or a passport, but if you're doing something where you've got people traveling, or it's a full wedding or full weekend thing, or something where the accommodations need to be made, give yourself more time. It's always better to have more time.
Good point.
And you can send your save the dates out as early as you want, really.
but
and
no later than,
yeah.
no earlier than, 6 months.
Yeah, no later
yeah,
than 6
no later
months.
than 6
And that's if you don't have people that are applying for visas and passports
Good point.
and things
Good
like
point.
that.
If you have people that are traveling from Canada or
yeah,
out of the country,
you may want to
and
do
coming
8
in,
to 9 months out.
Yeah.
A year.
or even
like
just
that.
send theirs out earlier
Yeah.
and send the rest out
Send
6
them
months.
an email.
Yeah.
Shoot them a text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Block the calendar. That's a good.
Yeah.
That's good advice. Oh,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Have a final detail call with all of your vendors the month of your wedding. It doesn't matter if they don't want to. Insist on it. Make sure that everybody is on the same page. Make sure that they all have the same timeline shared to them. Even if it's a rudimentary one that you made yourself, if it's one that your DJ and your photographer helped you with, whatever, make sure that everyone who's going to be there has the same one, not just their own. They can use their own. Make sure they also have yours.
Good point.
Make sure that you know who is going to be appointed to certain things that day. Make sure they know that they are appointed to certain things that day, and make sure that they have their roles and clear instructions. That way it can reduce the fuzz that day of having to dictate to people what they're supposed to be doing or delegate to people. That's huge. If you don't have a professional who's going to be handling that stuff, then clearly define roles for friends and family members. You shouldn't have one person doing everything. You should split the work up. That way not one person is stressed.
Diversify, yep.
And make sure that they know what they're doing.
Yep.
And then the last most important piece, and this is the biggest thing for me with my couples, this is your day. This is not another person's day. It's not your mom's day, your dad's day, your aunt's day. I don't care. It is your day. If you want to get ready together, if you don't want cake, you want pizza. It doesn't matter what other people's ideas and traditions are. You are getting married and nobody else is getting married, and it should feel like you. That's it. That's the bottom line.
Wow. That's a lot of information for tips and I feel like any bride
You can rewatch this as many times as you want.
Yes, exactly. And you can gravitate to any one of those, or some of them might apply to you, some of them might not apply to you.
Yeah.
But there's something in there. I feel like every bride, there's something in there that they can get from that helpful
I hope so.
tip.
Yeah.
Oh, I know so. I
Good.
get asked questions all the time, and you just answered every single one
I'll
of them.
send you this.
So I'm just going to send them the video.
Yeah.
You know, anybody that comes out to me now, I'm just going to send them the videos. Hey, this is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Anything else as far as you want to talk about, or let's talk about where I can find you first. So what's your website?
Website is completelybyclaire.com.
Okay, and all the stuff's going to be in the information down below.
And my name is spelled without an I, which is a common mistake. Okay. And the other cool thing is too, like, so we have the option if you don't want to hire us, we also do hour-long consultation calls. So if you're outside of like a range where you want, like where you would want to like pay for travel, or if you're like, I just really need somebody to like set me on a good course and like I don't want to have to pay for someone to be there that day, we have...
You do that?
Yeah. They're hour-long sessions. I mean, you pay for them, but a very, very low price.
Yeah.
And we'll get on a Zoom or a Teams call and we will get you set up to help you plan your own wedding.
You literally could have a 1-hour conversation with somebody.
Usually they need a couple of them. Yeah. like one to start you off, a check-in halfway through, and then like one right before your wedding to make sure but you're spending,
and you offer that also?
Almost nothing. Yeah. And you can do that through the website.
So not even including the day of coordinator.
Yeah.
You can
won't
also
have anybody there, but like
1-hour phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. We can even like, the last one, if you want to have your mom, your aunt, your sister get on the call and we can help delegate tasks. We can, that can be a part of it. You pay for the hour.
That's
you get the hour.
That's a nice added option.
Yeah.
That's a nice added option. I would not have thought of that. I would have thought of somebody just doing a day of coordinator to do 1-hour conversations along the way to help you stay on track and get on track and be on track.
Yeah.
That's a good option for people to even consider.
Yeah.
That's good. All right. Anything else you want to talk about?
Come check us out on Instagram, on Facebook. It's completely weddings and events pretty much everywhere.
Yeah.
If you Google us, we're like the first thing that pops up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And now are you based out of
Connecticut? But we go everywhere.
I was going to say, because you got a wedding this year in Massachusetts.
So we're in Lincoln, Mass. We're in Newport, Rhode Island. I go up to Lake George, New York. I mean, I've got a wedding in Maine in August that I'm doing. That's a full weekend. Yeah. Labor Day weekend. Like a lobster cookout and all kinds of stuff. But we'll go wherever. Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like being flexible when it comes to that. Somebody's always asking me where am I based out of? I was like, well, I travel all over New England.
Yeah.
Wherever you want to go, if you want me to go, I can go there. And I can accommodate that. I'm going to Virginia this year.
Fun.
And next year I have one in April in Georgia. So
that is cool.
We're working on some details about
Georgia
that.
in April is gorgeous.
Well, I heard that also.
Oh my gosh.
Hopefully my allergies don't kick in. But
no, they will.
Anything else you want to add about the business? And I feel like we covered everything. These 10 tips was excellent inside of there. Anything we want to talk about, add to the Win platform?
Oh my gosh. Just get on.
Get on it.
Get on it.
Get on it.
It's
on free.
It. Yeah. Yeah.
Just get on the platform. Just get on the platform, work through
and
the
if
platform.
I can do one more little plug for
Absolutely.
so I mentioned once, like people a lot, it's very commonplace to have like a friend or a family member marry you. There's another really cool resource that's called Can't Wait to Officiate. It's by 2 women who are on the Win platform. They're both officiants, found each other, said, how can we help guide these people who have like no idea? So they have a platform where they will coach people. If you don't want to hire them to officiate, they will coach your friend or family member on how to run a proper ceremony.
Wow.
Yeah, so Can't Wait to Officiate. They're also when people, like, I feel super comfortable endorsing them.
Thank you for that. I did not know that.
Awesome. Yeah.
There's so much in that platform that I don't know about yet.
It's such a gem.
But something like that, I feel like that is like a really, because everything comes down to money.
Yeah.
You know that. I know that. We know
the bottom
that.
line.
And we understand that. I'm not the ideal client I can't be for everybody.
Right.
You're not for everybody. And we get that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have to do something outside of that,
there's resources.
There's resources for that. And they're in the platform, but that Can't Wait to Officiate thing, I never even knew that was a thing.
Yeah, super cool. Yeah.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
I feel like that was so much information for a lot of the brides and a lot of the people to do that. I feel like there was a lot in there that people are going to be able to gravitate to. All of your information is going to be down below. Win platform is going to be down there. Thank you for the sponsorship. Anything else we want to talk about, address, wedding related wise, or anything else like that?
I don't think so, no.
I feel like we covered it all.
Yeah, we did.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Thank you, everyone, for coming back to the channel. This was just information and almost like education. I really wanted to treat it like I wanted to educate brides and grooms that are getting married that have absolutely no idea what they're doing. So that's why I brought in Claire from being a wedding planner and wedding coordinator and wedding planner for events and corporate and private parties. This is her specialty. This is what she does. So the 10 tips that she gave you was like, that was gold. That was priceless information when it comes to that. So thank you guys for coming back to the channel. Don't forget to like and hit that subscribe button down below. We appreciate your time and thank you for hanging out with us. And remember to smile more because it sure does hurt less. Peace.